Welcome to the One Bloody Take movie podcast, where we go back in time several decades to browse the aisles of your local video store. I'm Paul.
And I'm Russ.
And today we're renting the 1979 movie Savage Weekend. So get your popcorn and snow caps ready while we give you our bloody take. This is Savage Weekend. This movie is about a weekend that turns savage, so they are very clever with the title. It's directed by David Paulson and John Mason Kirby. Paulson also wrote it and produced it. And he's done a lot of other TV work. He does a lot of the 80s nighttime soap operas. There's a better name for that, but nighttime soap operas like Dallas and Dynasty and Knots Landing. And his friend there, John Kirby, has done nothing else. So good for them.
That was his only credit. Yeah.
There are some mid-level famous people in there, and we'll get into that. Let's start with the obvious, the poster. This poster would have me hooked immediately and then severely disappointed that it does not remotely represent the movie that I watched at all.
Yes. If I saw this, I'd be like, okay, that's coming home with me. And then when it got home with me, even if I would have enjoyed the movie otherwise, I would not have liked it because of what I was sold.
And I did enjoy the movie, but like this poster tells me I'm gonna have a movie like some supernatural overtones and the Grim Reaper is gonna be involved, and there none of that happens. Not right, even a little bit.
It's like you have been chosen, you are doomed to prepare yourself for, and then it looks like prepare yourself for death.
Right.
And no one's been chosen. No one's doomed.
No.
And there's no preparation anyone has to do. And we never see a character that looks remotely like this.
We get a character and a mask, which is about as close as we get to what's happening in this poster, but we don't even get a sickle at any point in time. No. And the location is rife with areas that you could have a sickle and it would make sense.
Yeah,
and no sickle. Not a single sickle.
Not a single sickle to be seen.
Nope. That sucked. I didn't get a chance to see a trailer for this movie. You were telling me you couldn't find a trailer for the movie.
Could not find an actual trailer for it.
I think overall, I was saying to you before that the existence of this movie is almost more interesting to me than the movie itself. This movie is a Cannon movie, which in the late 60s through the early mid 80s, Cannon was just like this movie company that I think if I were to run a movie company, this is what my movie company would look like, which was just essentially pitch me anything and I'll give you some money to make it.
Yeah.
And I don't really care what the end result is as long as you, the creator, love it. This movie comes in at a point in time where like slashers don't really exist at all. Horror movies, beyond the ones that are made out of characters that we know, like a Frankenstein and a Dracula, Hammer House type of stuff, they don't exist. Horror movies are not a thing. And then Cannon just comes through and just gives you a bunch of horror movies. And in the right perspective, this one in particular is like prototype for a whole bunch of other horror movies that are going to come afterwards and be better. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, this
as a movie is in no way a classic movie, but it lays the groundwork for a bunch of other stuff because this Cannon was just off the wall batshit movies. Like that's all they did for the most part. There's a documentary about Cannon films. It is called there it is, Electric Boogaloo, the wild untold story of Cannon films, and it's really fascinating.
Oh, and I haven't seen that, but I'll check that out.
The documentary itself focuses on when Golan Globus come in with their money in like the mid 70s and start to shape it even more towards like there's a ton of action films from Cannon films that are classics as far as the Cannon or the action film genre goes. But again, like they come in early on. They are very early on with like the Schwarzenegger, Stallone type of movies because Cannon Films was just making whatever the hell somebody came and decided they wanted to make. That's what they were making. And that's what's so cool about this movie in context is like Like the plot of the movie in and of itself is one rich guy is having a boat built for himself, and him and all his friends go to watch it be made or check in on it being made. Like, I don't even know, amongst the friend group, I don't know what the pitch is for that. Hey, I'm having a schooner built. You guys want to stop by and see the woodworkers? No.
The boat
fucking
was
no.
my biggest issue with the movie. So at the end of the day, if that's my biggest issue, I think it's a victory.
Yeah.
So, and to add to what you're saying, this movie was actually made in 1976 and wasn't released until 1979.
Right.
So they have even less examples of slasher films
Right.
when they made this movie. So when we look at it through that lens, they really, I think, did a great job, because we can't really compare it to ones made today. We have to judge it for when it was made and how it would have been perceived.
Yeah, and you can't, like there's no point of reference for, okay, we're going to make a movie regardless of the plot. We're going to make a movie where basically the goal of the movie is to do a whole bunch of stuff to bridge you from graphical kill to graphical kill. And at this stage in cinema, like, what does that pitch even sound like? Right? We're going to do is we're going to get like 8 people, we're going to strand them, and we're going to murder them. Okay, what else is going to happen? No, that's pretty much going to be it. Perhaps some rape here and there and a few boobs, but that's going to be the extent of our movie. And then some guy was like, I'll cut the check. That's going to be fine.
Only if we can milk a cow, I'll cut the check.
Well, I mean, you have to have some nature in there. I understand that.
Yeah.
So again, the plot of the movie is just a bunch of people go away for the weekend, which would have been enough. They didn't need to add the whole boat subplot in there at all.
No, I think
it wasn't.
They had to find a reason to involve Otis.
Otis could have just been the inbred local hillbilly, which is all he was anyway. He didn't need a backstory of being a really good carpenter too. Like it added nothing. It's not even like if his kills had strictly revolved around his woodworking savvy, then you go, okay, I get why they have to explain why this guy's a master craftsman and this is why he's so good, how he can sand a skull down with 100 grit sandpaper. But that didn't come into play at all. It was just Otis doing some psychotic killing while the people getting killed kind of just stood and watched him do his work. There was barely any running or putting up a fight when it came to any of these kills.
No. Not at all.
Other than that, the movie is extremely sexually forward. Like it almost it edged towards uncomfortable for me, which is quite an accomplishment. Almost every sex scene in this movie felt rape adjacent, like not necessarily although there is like at least one scene that's flat out an attempted rape, but it all just seemed like rape adjacent. Like the women were extremely uncomfortable with the positions they had put themselves in, and the men were extremely uninterested in their feelings whatsoever.
And the more mutual it became, the weirder it also became.
Yes.
So I don't know what I was rooting for.
This could be the first movie that I can think of that like presented cringe as like the main emotion that they were gunning for.
Yeah.
Like they weren't necessarily gunning to gross you out or to get your juices flowing or anything like that. It was just to make you uncomfortable every possible second that they could.
And I think that worked well because there wasn't a lot of special effects in this movie.
No.
There was barely any gore whatsoever, barely any blood, in comparison to other things we watch. So they have to find a way to make you uncomfortable, and they succeeded.
Yeah, there's not I was joking before that the producers were just cutting the checks for anything. These were very
Yeah.
small checks. These were not
Oh,
sizable checks at all. These were barely enough for the film that it took to make the movie. The blood that does come into play is focused on like one or two scenes, and it's super red blood, and there's a lot of it in those scenes, but it's used sparingly.
yeah.
The rest of the kills and the rest of the special effects are very craftily shot from angles and things like this, so you know what happened, and you can get a good in your head image of what happened, especially the hat pin murder. But you don't see a lot of it. You just get the gist, and then the rest of it's up to you to sort of suss out yourself in your own brain.
Yeah.
They start the movie out with what you basically find out is the end of the movie, as you get through it, right? Like you start out
Right.
with Otis, I want to say chasing a woman in the woods, but she's really like not interested in running. She seems to be disinterested in running away from her death.
Yes, and it was very weird because we were getting different viewpoints. We were getting what we could assume was Otis's viewpoint. We were getting the woman Marie, her viewpoint, and then we were just getting someone spinning around the woods with a camera, and then we were getting shots of like the back of her legs. So it was inconsistent as to where we thought the action was being seen or coming from. So it wasn't even like we're seeing it, and as the viewer, it's our viewpoint. It kept switching back and forth, and it was a little confusing to me.
And on top of all of that, they were giving it this heavy duty Deliverance feel with
Yes.
this deeply banjo oriented soundtrack. And to be honest, as the movie starts out, you don't know this, but like that comparison that they're trying, I think they're trying to pull there between this and Deliverance is really inaccurate. Like it's not. It's
No.
Otis is certainly a hillbilly and all that, don't get me wrong, but that's not what the horror in Deliverance was at all.
Yeah, no one is on that level
No.
in this movie.
No. But yeah, so we get this crazy opening, and again, I try to put myself in the headspace of a person who maybe, this was my second choice to go see a movie in 1979. I had wanted to see something else, and this is what I settled for, and this is how this starts. Like, holy shit.
But I love to. It's also confusing because there's just a chainsaw running in the woods.
Just sitting there, just waiting, like
Yes.
like a secondary
Just-
backup weapon.
Yeah. But I will say, I feel like, even though I was saying I was a little confused by the choice of viewpoint for the shots, I think this scene does a lot for us without telling us much. Based on how Marie's dressed, she left somewhere in a hurry. So this isn't somebody who's camping in the woods. This isn't somebody who went for a hike. This is somebody who's been either taken from one location to this or flee the location she was already in. We see binoculars around Otis's neck, suggesting he likes to watch people, and they're making us think that he's been watching her this whole time.
Right.
There was some blood on his forehead, and there was some speckled blood on her, suggesting they've already been in a fight. Even it might not be with each other, and hers could just be from running through the woods and hitting branches and thorns and things. But it did tell us a lot without telling us much at all.
Yeah, it definitely relayed the atmosphere of the movie, and it definitely gave you, okay, whoever this guy is, because at this point we don't know names or anything.
Right.
Whoever
No.
this guy is, he's a hunter, and this is his prey that is reluctantly running from him. And yeah, you're right. She doesn't look like she was a camper who got caught off guard. She looks like she was running from the city and wound up in this very unfortunate situation. But we know nothing of the situation at all, except for wherever this guy lives, they just leave chainsaws randomly in the woods running, already started. Because they're a pain in the ass to start, so I get
Yeah,
it.
so you go to lunch, you just let it go and hope
Yeah.
the gas doesn't run out.
Gas was cheap back then.
Yeah.
Um,
The other thing too is the way that this is presented to us. It's what seems to be a horror trope, in many movies after this, where the victim runs as fast as they can, the killer, just takes their time and strolls, and they wind up in the same point anyway. And that's
menacingly
how this
walking.
was cut, and that's how this looked. Even though we, find out later that's not what happened,
Right.
as they didn't give us the whole story.
Which, as a trope, I don't necessarily mind it situationally. I think we've talked about it before. I'm okay with the idea that
Yeah.
people are running full bore away from Jason and he's just walking calmly and catching up because he knows the area and you don't.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
This
He
lady
doesn't trip.
this lady hasn't been here before.
Right.
And this guy grew up here. So he knows every shortcut. He knows when she goes left, the way to go right and catch up with. Like that.
Yeah.
That's not so much to me a turn off of, oh, he's just walking and she's running and she should be getting away. No, she doesn't know where she's headed. She just keeps running and then looking over her shoulder and then running. And she's probably running in circles and not realizing it. And he's just laughing, walking in a straight line.
She'll run back to me eventually.
Yeah, I'll just wait here. She's going to catch back up. The sun will turn.
And even if it was something I have a problem with, it's made in 1976. Nobody else had a chance to constantly do this yet.
Right.
So they would have been one of the first.
This wasn't, pardon the pun, this wasn't run into the ground yet. They also give you the end of this, and we think we saw a murder, but they don't really clarify one way or the other at this point in the movie. And then we basically unknowingly cut back to before the weekend starts, or as the weekend starts. And this is where we meet Greg, who is not feeling very well, not very healthy. He was in the hospital.
Yeah, he seems to just be a little depressed. He was working, I think, for the mayor, or somebody high up, a governor, I think, and the governor was corrupt, and that cost him his job, and now he doesn't have a job, and he just seemed not to take it well. So his life has been going downhill since then.
Ever since the damn mayor and his corruption.
Yeah.
Again, something they were ahead of the curve of. The characters in this movie in general are not interesting, and they try to give them these fleshed out sort of existences, and the more they flesh them out, the less interesting they became to me.
Yeah, and we don't see Greg for too much at the beginning, but he's just a shell of a human. As the movie goes, Marie is just just dead inside, just going through the motions. The one that seems to have the most life in her is Shirley, and you can take Robert and Jay, I think.
Yeah,
and they're just interchangeable. They're the same people with different variations. It could be any male from that time. There's nothing good or bad about them. Almost if you saw them and talked to them in 5 minutes, you forget you did it.
Yeah, they just kind of exist. I really do. I think the original first draft of this movie was just, we want to see 6 people die.
Yeah.
How do we get to each death with at least some continuity? And that was it. That was the whole movie.
I will say the most personality they gave to someone was Ricky. And considering that this movie was made in 1976 as a horror suspense movie, to have one of your main characters be gay is quite a risk and statement. So today we would think nothing of it, but the crowd in 1976 who's there to watch people die might be clutching their pearls when they see some of the lines that he delivers.
He was just a very spirited man.
Yeah.
I don't know why you've made this assumption of him.
But I would say out of all the characters, what he does early on was my favorite.
And I'll agree with that. And then that also makes him stand out of place even further, because everybody else is kind of these very flat two-dimensional characters, and he's at least got some sort of backstory built to him that you're like, okay, this guy is at least a little interesting, going into like this dive bar and asking for a Tanqueray martini, and everybody's looking at him sideways like,
Just
I can't even spell that, let alone make that for you.
And I think I couldn't figure it out up towards until later in the movie. But I couldn't figure out if he had a crush on Shirley or a crush on Jay, because he would get very upset, or watch the two of them interact very carefully.
I suspect that it was both. I have a feeling that he was just, as the kids might say, playing the middle. But yeah, he was beyond. I think it was Shirley who wound up like making out with one of the guys while imagining that he was another one of the guys. That was like the next
Marie.
That was Marie, right?
She kept seeing her husband. She kept seeing Greg.
That was the next closest personality trait that they displayed in this movie besides our killers. So while we're there getting our Tanqueray martinis, we're gonna have a bar fight, and it's an atrocious bar fight.
Yeah. They're just kind of tapping each other.
Even for a 70s film where like they didn't have, I guess they didn't have the technology to have really good breakaway bars and glass and stuff. It was terrible. It was absolutely a Dukes of Hazzard bar fight that was filmed in the middle of this movie. So that trip to the bar is also kind of the beginning of the weekend. So now we've all agreed to go away for the weekend to watch this boat under construction, which again.
And while Ricky's in the bar, the rest of the group is in like a corner store, and Shirley finds a mask and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this for Ricky." Or is it Nikki? I kept interchanging that constantly. It's Nikki.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you see anything and I've written Ricky, that's why.
Yeah.
So we know that mask is going to somehow come into play.
Also, one of the better lines in the movie, there's a little humor here and there, but she mentions buying the mask for him, and somebody under their breath says it won't help.
I think it was Jay. Yeah, but yeah.
The little barbs are good, so why couldn't they have written the rest of the movie well? They just didn't feel like it.
Yeah, there's another line Jay delivers where him and Shirley are having sex, and she's like, "You don't like women much, do you?" And he just goes, "Parts of them."
Is that when they're is that after he says that they should do something freaky, and make a mud hole?
Yeah. And she reaches in for swamp water and mud and then wipes it on his face. I'm like, thanks. Now I'm gonna get a brain-eating amoeba. And
listen, you do what you got to do to convince these women to get down with you. I understand.
Yeah.
So we're moving along. We're at the bar. We're back at the bar again, and this is where we start to learn about Otis, right? This is where,
well, not yet. When they arrive, they leave the bar and they arrive at the cabin or the house, and there's a dead bat nailed to the door. And the thing is, this never comes back into play. I would understand if for some reason we find out the killer is killing bats or whatever it is. I don't care. But it never comes back into play. And here's the thing. If we're going to a small town, we're city folk, and I get there, and someone's nailed a dead bat to my door. Nope, just leaving the luggage in the car, telling everyone to get back inside. We are turning around, and we are going home, and I am never coming back.
It's a
The
sign,
house is
right?
gone.
It's a sign.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a message.
Somebody is there to kill you. Yeah. So, yeah, just go home.
I my wife is deathly afraid of bats. She has had several bad experiences with bats, and when I was younger, not a lot younger, but when I was younger, I used to work a job that required me to leave the house like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. So like I sneak out every morning basically. I got up one morning and there was a bat hanging from the ceiling, like attached to the wall up on the ceiling. And I saw in the house. It wasn't the first bat that had gotten into the house. So like, was I surprised? Yes. Was it totally out of the blue? Not entirely. A cousin of mine and I had caught a bat in the house and just beat it with tennis rackets till we caught it and scooped it out. But so this bat is on the wall up above the bed, and it's 3:30 in the morning, and I have to make a decision. And I decide to leave for work because I got to make money. So I don't say anything to anybody. I don't stir the bat or anything. I just leave. And my wife had a habit of calling me when she woke up in the morning to say good morning. And good morning. Is the bat still there? What bat? Oh my God. She wanted to move out of the house. And that was a live bat that we understood how it got into the house. So yes, if I showed up at any place that I was invited to and there was a bat nailed to the wall, I'm not going in. I'm not going any further than wherever the bat is located. That's the deepest I'm going into the house, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, unless you're telling me this is the son of Bat God, right, and they've crucified him to make a point. Okay.
If there's a backstory that's already been explained to me, we put this bat here because it wards off the other bats. Okay. Yeah. All right. At least I understand why it got there, and I'm not going to feel like it's a violent threat towards my existence. It's your reasoning might be wrong, but at least I understand why don't be scared if you see the bat hanging there. That's just sort of a tradition in our town on the 5th of the month in the summer. Okay, fine. All right. I don't like it, but I'm not going to look at it and go, I think someone's trying to tell us to leave.
Yeah.
There's no other message.
100%.
Did you get the welcome bat that we hung at the door? No, that's not a thing. All right. So the movie's progressing along, and now we finally get to the boat, which
not the boat, a boat.
Well, we get to. You're right. We get to a boat. We're confirming that we're at some sort of shipyard
place with water
ish place. Yeah, place with water. You don't need water to build a boat. You need water to sail on a boat. That's different.
Yes, but the boat's got to get out and go somewhere.
Onto the trailer so I can take it home and put it out on the Hudson. So the boat was very expensive because Robert had to take out a second mortgage. When we go to see the boat, Otis has a gun in his hand, but that's because he's hunting a rat, which I don't know. Like, I don't want him shooting anything while he's on the boat that he's building for me, because you got to patch the holes and you're weakening it and all that stuff.
Oh, no. These are two separate things. Like he's not on the boat. He's in the boat barn when he shoots the rat.
Yeah. So Otis wants to pour cement.
No, Otis is being told to pour cement. Otis goes to like the graveyard, and I think it's his cousin has died, Clarence, and he talks to Clarence.
Yeah,
and he's telling him, like, this guy thinks that chicken wire and cement is going to float, and he's just kind of like laughing at him. But there's also this weird viewpoint Otis has, is that the boat is actually Clarence's, and therefore it should be his. And I don't understand why either of them would feel like they own something that Clarence is that Otis is building, even though that's not how Otis would build it.
I don't think Otis is that intelligent. I think that's partially what you're missing there.
Well, no, I 100% get that, but I just don't understand why we're talking about this. It doesn't matter whether Otis thinks the boat is his or not. It doesn't come into play.
It really doesn't. Like I guess if you want to assign all of his murders to the idea that he thinks if he kills everyone, he can keep the boat that he thinks he's entitled to, I guess you could do that. But here's the thing with this movie. It's so simply written, and poorly, if I may. It's so simply written that these little things like this seem even worse and even further out of place. Like, the movie is people went away, they got stranded, and the hillbillies killed them. That's the whole movie. Starting to add this talking to ghosts and getting advice and thinking that you own the completely unnecessary, and then doesn't drive anything anywhere that it couldn't have gotten without that part that makes you go, what the hell are we watching right now?
And the movie also already wants us to think that Otis is the killer based on the opening scene.
Oh, yeah.
So providing a reason for him to kill isn't as important necessarily, because we already believe we've seen him commit murder.
Well, even if you want to give some context to why he's a murderer, that's fine. But like at this point where he's now talking to a ghost who's convincing him that he owns something, you're like twisting the knife in his back and creating the killer.
Yes.
But you already have the killer. You don't need to revert to how did we get here? We got here because he's a fucking lunatic. Thank you. Next scene. And that's it.
Yes.
Like, that's it. Him talking to a ghost who's wants the boat back that doesn't exist, that they wants to pour cement and chicken wire into. No.
He's definitely talking to them and hearing answers back, too, based on the way he handles his conversation.
Oh, for sure.
Like he waits for an answer and then responds to the answer we can't hear.
Yes.
And he also spells died, D-Y-E-D, as he painted on the tombstone.
And that's the least of my concerns with him.
Yes. I mean, honestly, that's better than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. At least that is a version of died. So like he's wrong in a homonym kind of way, but that's a word that's in the dictionary one way or the other.
And who knows, maybe he died from some sort of skin dye that we don't know.
Yeah, or he was the guy who like dyed the canvas for the boats and like that was his job.
Yeah.
Which all of this just propels us forward to your favorite couple in this movie is Mac and Marie.
Oh, one thing I do want to talk about while they're the Mac, Marie, and Robert are out on the boat, and Robert's like, "Hey, I'm gonna head back," and he steps on a fishing hook.
Oh,
but we watch Mac take the line and wrap it around his hand and wait, and then he pulls it. So I was really confused as to why that happened. And Marie sees this and doesn't really say anything. What she's more interested in doing is at one point, I thought she was going to masturbate while laying on the boat, because her hand starts up here and just slowly goes down. And on the boat is her boyfriend, Robert, and a stranger, Mac. And she stays on the boat when Robert leaves. It was very bizarre and, like you said earlier, uncomfortable. everything about that was uncomfortable. And on top of it, Mac is telling a story about Otis, and he says a girl comes up to visit him, and he, got around to kind of having a crush on her, and the girl would sneak out at night and go to the local bar and come back with guys, and he catches her and kills the guy, and then puts her in like this head bar lock, and then ties her down and brands her and makes an H. And they're like, what's H for? Whore. Otis can't spell. So, and then Marie's the only one with a little bit of common sense. And she goes, is this the same Otis that's working on your boat, Robert? Yeah.
This could be any Otis. This very common name in 1976.
So, like, oh my God, leave. Just fucking leave. You can't have this man doing this unless Mac is exaggerating. That we don't really know. But at that point, why are you doing business with this guy who brands people that he thinks are whores? And then why do you bring girls to see him? So if I was near anybody like that and there was anyone that I thought would be a victim in my vicinity, we would be getting them out of there. But they just stay and enjoy the weekend.
So to that extent, to that end, there is nothing about this movie, between the characters and the writing and everything else, that would lead me to believe there was a single male character in this movie who gave a fuck about the women in this movie whatsoever.
Yeah.
There's no point in time in this movie where I'd have been like, well, it's good that he's protecting her in that way. And that discussion never came up whatsoever.
Yeah.
So the fact that one of them got branded a whore and the rest of them were just like, well, no, I agree. It's kind of on you. If you didn't want the brand, you shouldn't have been a whore. That seems consistent with the characters in this movie.
And up until this point, we're here. Mac tells, when telling the tale of Otis, and what we hear being broadcast on the radio from a preacher, it's all basically saying lonely people can get weird. People that are frustrated do violent things.
Otis was the original incel.
Yeah, they're making us think, okay, well, he's lonely, he's weird. So they're kind of setting the expectation of the profile of our killer through Mac's storytelling and the preacher on the radio.
If these women would just have had sex with him, he would have been fine.
Yes,
and they would all be alive. They chose this path for him.
Yeah, it's, he spends all day talking to his dead cousin or friend. The least you can do is help him out a little.
Right? A handy here and there, and all of a sudden there's not chainsaws running in the middle of the forest. I know it's uncomfortable, but it seems like a pretty obvious decision.
It might even inspire him to take a shower.
That would cut his hair or something.
Yeah.
Anyhow, have you ever gotten a fishing barb caught in your flesh?
No.
Oh,
it's
brutal.
I used to go fishing a lot as a kid. My grandfather had a boat, and I don't know actually what he was. We just called him Uncle Dad. But he had a place in Stone Harbor that had a dock.
Was his real name Otis by any chance?
Clinton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he lived to be over 100.
As far as you know.
So there was a dock back there, so we would sometimes vacation, like rent another house and then use his dock, or my grandfather would just paid for a boat spot down at a harbor or bay, and we'd go out from there. But I was always very, very careful with the hook because I did not want that to happen.
Yeah, I was a dipshit, and I got one definitely hooked in that little duck part of your hand there, and your finger there. And it's got to come through the other way because of the barbs on it. Otherwise, it'll rip everything on the way out. And watching someone have to work it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And that might have been the most like graphically off-putting thing that happened in the movie. That and the getting beaten to death by a rock on your head. Those were the two that I watched that actually made me feel like I could feel like my boys sort of tuck up and under while I was watching those things happen. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and like to your point, it's like the special effects aren't there, but the uncomfortableness is 100% here.
Yeah.
And the king and queen of uncomfortable are Mac and Marie. There's many different interactions with these two. Marie's in bed with Robert, and she's asking him about Mac, which is just
so 70s.
weird. Yes, like, hey, before we have sex, tell me about that guy you know. So, and even then, when she does have sex with Robert, she's seeing her ex-husband Greg. So she is clearly with Robert for other reasons other than her being attracted to him. And she sort of talks about this. And at one point later in the movie is like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. So, you know, it's just, she's dead inside. But she does later go up to Mac, like after they were out fishing, and Mac is doing some work. I think he's chopping wood or saw. He's got the chainsaw, and he's sawing logs. And she just says, Robert wants to talk to you. But then she walks up to him and gets right next to him and starts taking her hand over the hydraulics of the construction equipment, like it's a shaft, and then reaches out to grab him. And his response here, I think he was trying to be badass, but it just came off like laughable. And he's like, what do you want? And she just goes, I don't know. So he takes a match out, strikes it against the metal, and is like, see this? That's what you're playing with. Like,
that was so frigging weird of an exchange.
Yes.
Like that one wasn't even uncomfortably cringe. That was just weird.
That was weird.
I initially thought he struck the match like on her chin to get it to start. I had to watch it again. I was like, even without him striking the match on her chin, it was still unbelievably. He was, in a lot of ways, he was a weirder, creepier dude than Otis was.
And that all changes though when you see Mac with his daughter. He's a different person.
Yeah.
But other than that, yes, he is with that fishing line. Just how he looks, right, like just his presence is off-putting.
Yes. Yeah. It is the accomplishment of this movie is the level of off-putting, the level of cringy off-putting that this movie manages to exude while being a movie that wasn't following a template of any existing kind. That's the accomplishment of the movie. That's the accomplishment of this movie is you're sitting there the entire time like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel safe watching this movie.
And and I will say, like, I've seen all the Faces of Death. I've watched Audition. I can't remember the one that Charlie Sheen called the police on, something Rose, because he thought it was an actual snuff film. I got it at one of the horror cons, like one of the first ones that I went to. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically just about it's like VHS footage of this guy that's just watching this girl, and then he abducts her, and just the rest of the movie is just pure torture.
Guinea pig, flower, flesh and blood too.
Yep, that's it.
Wow. I'm not familiar with that one. I mean, I'm familiar with the works of Takashi Mike, so like Ichi the Killer and things like that, where it's just like brutally, gorishly uncomfortable. But I'm not familiar with this.
Yeah, no, I'd love everything he does. So I've seen a lot of shit, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
here.
I'm with you.
I'm sure you have too.
I have.
And this might have been one of the most uncomfortable scenes I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Marie goes into the barn to find Mac and says, I need some. Oh, no, she finds Mac and goes, I need some eggs. And then they go to the barn. While in the barn, she walks up to a cow, gets down on the ground, and just starts playing with the cow's udders. And not even in like a educational way, like, oh, what's this? She's like caressing it, rubbing her thumb over the tip of the udder, and he's not even there to see it. She's just doing
Wait,
this.
hold on. Wait 1 second. If he was there to see it, would that have made this any better?
Because I think this suggestion, like, oh, look what I can do, like that's it's not like she's saying, wouldn't you rather be the cow? She's just jerking off the cow.
I don't think there's an angle that you're going to make this palatable for me, but I'm enjoying listening to you try.
Oh, I know. It's weirder to do it by yourself because you're trying to make it suggestive.
I don't think there's a distinction.
Well, well, just like the hydraulic and the shaft.
That's that's an
Yeah.
inanimate object. So
Yes.
it's still a little, there's some innuendo in there. It's not a live cow.
Oh, I'm not saying it would have been normal. I'm just saying she's obviously doing it for his benefit, and he's not there to see it. I think that's my point.
Maybe she's just practicing.
Yeah. Ah,
She's warming up so she doesn't get carpal tunnel.
there's no way, even like, if I'm single and there's a girl and she just starts fondling a cow, that is not it. I mean, it's different if they know what they're doing and they're doing their job and their work, and you like, okay, well, she's capable. I like capable. No, this is just molesting a cow. That's what this was. And I had to watch this, and I apologize for suggesting the movie and making you have to watch this too. So anyone, if you hear this and you're watching it, once she says, I want eggs, fast forward 5 minutes and you save yourself. Yeah.
I like the idea that this scene could have played out differently for you, and then you wouldn't have been quite as off put by it.
Oh no.
Oh no,
It's
he was standing there watching her jerk the cow off, so it's fine. I mean, really, if you think about it, that's just sexy. But doing it by yourself, ew.
doing it by yourself is weirder. And then
Okay.
it gets even more uncomfortable because then both of them couple their hands together and then start milking the cow together. And he's all like, RFK, I want to drink it straight from the cow. And but she, at that point, that was too much for her. That's
Well,
where she draws the line.
she
She's not,
understands how homogenization works.
right, and rightfully so. That is the right thing to do, because Mac has it like cut in his cupped hand, and then he's like offering it to her. And if I am Mac, and I think everything we've done to this point is on board, everything we've done to this point is above board. It's nothing wrong with it. I'm not gonna then drink it out of my cupped hand. That,
That's when it gets to be a bridge too far.
yes,
Once we didn't at least have the courtesy to use a solo cup.
exactly. What you at least a shot glass or something, a Dixie cup, anything. But I don't think they're trying to be sexy in any way here whatsoever. But this scene and another scene are on opposite ends of a bell-shaped curve as far as this type of scene can play out. There's a part where Shirley is trying to get Jay to go into the lake with her.
Right.
He seems disinterested. She is standing squatting behind him. And instead of walking around, she swings her leg over the top of his head and then walks in front of him. And then he's just like, oh, yeah, I'm in now. So they obviously know what they're doing if they want to do it. So there are some things where they're trying to make the scene maybe, pleasing to watch, or holy shit, when is this going to be over? And this was a holy shit, when is this going to be over?
I'm still working through the provisions of when whacking off a cow is exciting and when it's disgusting. And I think I've sketched out your parameters and I had no idea this was going to be the important part of the movie, but here
Yeah.
we are discussing
Yeah,
the
here we
appropriate
are.
sexual etiquette with cows.
Yeah, I mean, you have to ask them if they're a willing participant,
Right.
and if they moo, then yes. If they don't, then no. You have to look
Move
for
on
another
to the
cow.
next cow. That's right.
Yes.
Don't force it. And bring a clean cup.
Yeah, bring a clean cup. Don't drink from their hands.
They're filthy. They've just been all over the cow's udders. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Oh, and another thing, filthy. She has no shoes on, and she's just walking around the
Ew.
barn. I know
Just ew.
some people just
Ew.
walk in shit.
What is
I'm
this?
just, no, I can't do that. No, because if it goes in between your toes, then you got shit between your toes while you're jerking off the cow, and that's just too much.
That's entirely too many things, too many sexy things all at once. You can't handle that.
Yeah.
I get
We're
it.
bringing in way too many horrible kinks into one scene.
Just the amalgamation is too much. All right, so that's been our milky take on.
Yes.
I really don't care about the rest of the movie at this point. I want to just focus on this scene for the rest of the show.
Just the cow. Track down the cow, see what other movies they've been in.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
they've gone on to a fruitful career.
Yeah.
You think they had to have like if you have like a condor on the set of your movie, you have to have like somebody who specializes in falconry so that they can control the bird. Do you think they had to have like a cow sex specialist there to make sure that things are?
I would hope
We're
not,
not
because
getting
then
ripped.
somebody's signing up to watch that, and then I would be
Not
suspicious of
watch,
anybody.
instruct.
Instruct. Yeah.
No,
This is-
that grip
like-
is entirely too tight.
That's just how you milk the cow. That's not how you please the cow.
You're gonna need to go slower if you want this scene to last more than 9 seconds. Thank God I ran out and bought a new audio interface.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so did anything else happen in this movie?
No, that was it. They ended once Mac drank the milk from his cupped hand.
That was the end. Got salmonella, and then 42 years later, the movie ended. All right, so perhaps that's the thing that we missed is like the killer in this movie wound up just being like the cow's protector.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's pretty much that at that point, that's when the murder kind of kicks into high gear after that scene.
Yes. After that scene, we then are aware that the killer is on the premises.
Yeah.
Or suspecting the killer's on the premises.
We're getting closer to understanding that fact. And we know this because I'm sorry.
Okay. I was trying not to laugh, and then I couldn't talk because if I talked, I'd laugh. So, yeah.
So we know our killer. We know something is awry because now we see everybody kind of out by the lake, and now we're getting these POV shots that we really haven't really gotten since the beginning of the movie. And then whomever this person is goes inside and gets gloves, and since it's the summer-ish, and we don't have a reason for gloves at this point, so we know that this is someone that's going to be up to no good shortly. Now, meanwhile, those gloves would have been available to the cow people, but they opted not to grab them at that time.
Yeah, the milk just would have saturated into into the glove. So,
and then this is where we get our throwback to, like you were saying, we see that mask. We know that mask is going to come into play. Now that mask is hanging on a wall, very artfully lit, which I found
yeah,
to be an interesting choice at this point in the movie. And it goes from hanging on the wall to we see someone getting dressed, and now they have the mask on. And it all in all, as far as horror movie masks are concerned, it's a pretty cool mask.
yeah,
It at certain points in time, it just looks like it's the killer's face. Like it's a pretty well done, creepy enough mask that simultaneously looks like a mask that could exist, but also one or two steps beyond that as far as looking evil.
yeah. I agree. Thought it was a good choice. We're 45 minutes into the movie at this point, and if we're discounting the very opening, this is the first time we're getting a hint that someone is up to no good. So this movie's an hour and a half, 45 minutes, just being introduced to the killer. So this is where I stopped and I thought, who could the killer be? We know Ricky is capable of harming someone. When he watches Jay and Shirley have sex, he clutches a barbed wire and injures his hand. So he's clearly not okay. And he looks upset later when the two of them go off and he's watching them from the window when Jay's following her. So he does have some reason here to possibly kill and is capable of causing harm. It could be Robert, or he's cheating on him. We know he might be financially strapped due to sinking money into this boat. So there could be all kinds of reasons where things aren't going right for him. It could be Mac. We know he hooks Robert for absolutely no reason. The guys at the bar, possibly, if they're upset with how, with Nikki kicking his ass. I keep saying Ricky a lot, I think. So Nikki, Otis, they want us to assume it's Otis, but I have to believe it's not if there's a mask. Because why put a mask on the killer we've already seen?
Right. We've already seen him in action.
Yes.
So there'd be no reason to mask him. But we also, in all fairness, we still don't really realize that what we saw at the beginning is still coming up. Right?
Yes.
Like we're not clear that's a time loop at that point. So we could presume that potentially he was killing other people, and now he needs the mask up so that,
right,
you know, the new victims aren't aware of his plans.
Because I wasn't even certain that was Marie in the opening scene.
Right, because she was bloodied and beat up enough
Yes.
that it was she looks similar, but then you get into that whole killers have a type sort of scenario.
Yes.
In your mind.
But we can rule out Ricky, Jay, and Robert, or Nikki, Jay, and Robert, because they're all in the house while the killer's walking around,
right,
or they're outside. We know where they are. And if it was Mac or the guys from the bar, I feel like they would want them to know it was them, at least the guys from the bar, because if you're out there to get revenge on someone who just kicked your ass, are you going to hide your identity? The whole point is, like, don't fuck with me or this happens type of thing.
Right.
So I'm like, why hide your identity? Because it's someone they know. And the only person in this story that is not with them is someone we know is Marie's ex-husband, Greg. So it's this, and I don't know if I would have thought that if I'm just watching this to watch it. But when I sat down and looked at everything we had, I'm just like, it has to be Greg at this point.
That makes, yeah, that as in this moment, if you freeze frame the movie right here and break it all out, this is the only answer that makes sense, unless it's someone who we've not met whatsoever. like it,
Yeah.
like we're not aware of in any capacity.
Old man Jenkins.
Right. But then at that
Yeah.
point, you also question, why would that person need to wear a mask if
Right.
no one knows
If
them
no
in the
one knows
first
them.
place?
Yeah.
They can move freely about as just a stranger.
And I will say, I thought Greg was almost going to kill Robert at the start of this movie when Greg is holding his son. Robert comes in with the baseball glove and tries to give it to him while Greg is holding him. Just it's like such a great power move, but a dick move at the same exact time.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you would almost think if someone is going to die, it's going to be Robert at this point.
With his bad
Just based on
child
that
rearing
interaction.
skills.
Yeah.
So this is basically when the fun begins. And this is where we start to rack up our bags. And where do we go first with the bags? We get
Jay.
we get Jay, right.
Yes.
And we get Jay and Shirley are fighting, and Ricky Nicky is listening in, and Jay runs off, and boom, he gets in the boat. Of course, he's in the boat barn, the central building of this movie, and there's the killer, and the killer hangs him. I always like when a killer starts out with a hanging, as it is sort of a warning to everyone else.
Just like the bat.
And it right. And it also sort of belies their interests, because a normal collection of people would run in and see their friend compatriot hanging from the ceiling and say, something has gone terribly wrong between this and the bat. We should leave now, which, if you want to be the killer of 9 people, kind of interferes with your plan.
Yes.
Luckily, these people are idiots.
Especially because after a while, like in all movies, somebody's missing or they've gone off and everyone's like, they're just them.
Right.
Doing the things that they do.
Right. That's not the same as actually seeing the body hanging there.
Why is Jay on this trip? Jay is on this trip to help Otis fix the boat, because Otis isn't doing it fast enough.
Right. Goddamn Otis.
So if Jay is missing and he's not in the house, he's not outside of the house, where might you go looking for Jay?
Probably the boat, the boat house.
Yeah, near the boathouse. Robert walks all around it just going, Jay, Jay.
He couldn't possibly be in the boathouse where he came here to work, could he?
Yeah. I've already said your name enough times with no response. I'm just going to go back inside now. Hope you're not dead.
Guess he went to the bar.
Yeah. And this is just another reminder of the boat that no one is working on.
There's no boat, right? There's
the frame. We have the concept.
We have a concept of a boat.
It's going to be ready in 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's going to be the best boat.
Yeah.
People are saying they've never seen a boat this good before.
No. Tell me all the time, sir, this boat is going to be the best boat. When I first spoke to our Navy, they didn't even have any boats.
My uncle, who's a professor at Boat University, said that this is the greatest boat he's ever seen.
So it's just, I feel like the boat is such an important part of this story. It's why they're all there, and we don't pay any attention to it.
But I think that is inherently the problem with the boat being the centerpiece of the story, right?
Yes.
Like, so I could see a world, right, where I'm having a boat built, let's say in Nantucket, and I get all my friends together and I say, I'm supposed to go up and check on the progress of the boat, which is going to wind up being a weekend trip to Nantucket. So why don't we all just go hang out in Nantucket?
Yeah.
And even in the scope of that, the boat itself only matters to me. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean shit to anybody else whatsoever. There is not, I do not expect on that trip at any point in time for any other person in my group to go, so how's the boat? Like, that's
Yeah.
never going to be a conversation I'm anticipating at all.
Jay should, because that is why they brought Jay.
Well, they brought Jay to help
Yes.
work on it. So, yeah, I get that.
Yes.
But outside of that, like,
Outside of that,
nobody else should ever. Oh, that's right. A boat. That is why we came here. I forgot.
or maybe Marie, because she could be upset with how much money Robert's investing in this.
That's fair.
But for Nikki and Shirley, they should never be talking about the boat. It does not matter to
No,
them.
it's of no consequence to them
Yes.
whatsoever. They're just there because they wanted to go to the countryside for the weekend, and that's it.
Yes.
So we get Jay dead, which then leads us to our next bag, which is Ricky. And this is the hat pin, right? This is the hat pin killing.
Yes. Yeah.
This was an incredibly cool killing. Because a lot of times in this sort of movie, and I can't reiterate enough that there was no this sort of movie at the time. A lot of times in this sort of movie, the murders are inconceivable on some level, right? But I have a 6-inch hat pin. I sneak up on you. I jab you in the ear with it, and you're probably going to die. Like it was a completely realistic death. And they didn't show you much at all, but you could feel exactly what happened.
Right. And they do a good job of showing us how long these are.
Yeah.
Because we get another very uncomfortable scene with Shirley.
Yes.
As she sort of does, she goes from like Puritan to whore in 5 seconds. And
with a capital
does this,
H.
Yeah, capital H. She does like this little weird, almost striptease for herself,
like a burlesque undressing sort
Yeah.
of situation. Yeah.
but using the hat pin to rub on herself while she's watching herself in the mirror. And I didn't understand that, why the hat pin was part of it, but it was. I mean, and we've established that these pins exist earlier in the movie when they're talking about the bat. Nikki picks up the cushion that they're in and acts like it's a phone.
Right.
And he's saying there's a joke about ordering the dead bat. He's like, and if we're not here, just have the boy nail it to the door, like as the reason why the bat's there. So one of the things that this movie does sometimes, but not all the time, is sort of telegraph the method of death.
And then even after Shirley does her little thing, the killer goes and gets the pin out of the pin cushionish thing, and you can clearly see that it is sticking out way past where the other pins are.
Yes.
Just to reiterate, this is a giant pin.
Yes, right. It's not just someone their sewing equipment.
Which I think it's simultaneously clever and necessary for them to keep reiterating this, because they're not really going to show it to you. They're not going to they're not going to show you the penetration. They're not going to show you the actual kill. So they need to keep pointing out to you that yes, this is capable of what you think you're going to see in a moment.
This is almost going to come out his other ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which would have
Now,
been cool too.
yes, I didn't have time to look into this further, but later, like a little bit before we met tonight, I saw, or no, earlier. Yeah, I was trying to find it, then I still couldn't. There is a sequel to this movie.
Is there?
That was made in 1994.
Oh, that's way too late for it to be good.
But it's an independent film and can't find it anywhere. I can't even see that it exists. So it's almost, I don't know if the people involved in it were just fans and made it, and it's like a fan-made film.
Is this
Or
is this Savage Harvest?
no, this is not another Savage Weekend.
Okay.
And in this movie, the concept is Nicky didn't actually die. He went into a coma. And when he awakes several years later, he sets out to find the killer.
Okay. But you can't find any.
I cannot find it.
Okay. I will take that as some homework for the week. That's not a problem.
Yeah. And I 100% trust the source that this came from. So if they're saying it exists, it exists.
And it's not another Savage Weekend.
Not another Savage Weekend, released in January of 1994.
And it doesn't have like any of the Wayans brothers in it or anything like that.
No, no. I mean, I think this, from the way I was interpreting it, it may have never even been shown in a movie theater.
Okay. All right. Now I'm curious about that. So that'll be the rest of my evening tonight. So I appreciate that. Okay. All right. So anyway, where are we with these bags?
That's
Nicky-
the death of Nicky.
Nicky's
So I
dead?
don't have to keep saying Ricky.
Right. So we don't.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that. So we can move
No.
on to Robert and Marie, going off to spend some adult time together, which is a key theme in this movie.
I feel like they're only there for a day, right?
At most two, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure this is like a 24-hour deal.
And they just keep having sex throughout the day, which explains why no one is working on the boat.
Yeah. That and the people involved are either dead or busy killing people. Like
Yes.
there's no there's no actual boat workers here at all.
Yeah.
They need a union. So Robert and Marie go off. Robert has already found Jay hanging. But like I don't know what's the term, nonplussed. He seems very nonplussed about the fact that Jay is hanging from the ceiling. Yeah, that's what people do sometimes when they can't do a boat very well.
Yeah, he really didn't want to work on this boat.
Lazy
Poor
bastard.
guy couldn't tell me no.
But then after seeing Jay, Robert winds up seeing Ricky, or Nicky, either one of the
Nicky,
twins.
yeah.
And now he's panicked because now there's two
Yes.
dead bodies, and this seems like a very reasonable response now that we've got two bodies.
Yes.
So
Because he sort of acts like Jay killed himself,
right,
as opposed to being killed.
right, like Jay did this to
Yeah.
himself, but then the second body makes you rethink everything, which is a
Yes.
logical series of events. So he goes to get a gun, and instead the killer hooks him and throws him through a window, and Robert lands and dies, which is what happens
Yeah.
when you get a hook, plowed
Yes,
through you.
and he got impaled on the way down too.
Yeah.
So he was penetrated several times,
And
sort of like the cow in the. But
This is what happens in the second movie, and this is why you need me to dig it up, right? Like,
Damn it,
not
you
another
figured it out.
Savage Weekend is just bovine porn that you need me to
Yeah.
find a copy of. I understand. You could have just asked. You have to bait me into it.
The death of Robert is also foreshadowed. He
Yeah.
gets the hook in his foot and then the hook in his back. So again, they're kind of teasing their deaths before it happens.
Which is frustrating again because that's a slick little writing hook. No,
Yeah.
no pun.
Right.
little writing trick that they're doing there, and this movie is shittily written. So there's like little glimmers of these guys could have written an actual good movie here if they felt like it, and they just didn't. They opted not to. Like, what are you guys doing? A
Because-
script? Nah.
The hinting is not forced.
No.
You're not going, okay, well, obviously the person wouldn't do this or say this or act in this way.
Right.
This is all natural. These are things that could actually happen. So it seems reasonable that they could experience that and then die in that way.
Yeah, it all comes up pretty organically,
Yeah.
and then comes up again to haunt them. And there's just sort of like, that's really clever, and then
Yeah.
and then not. So the killer decides that he's warm, and so he takes off his sweater. And Marie is there too, but the killer doesn't attack Marie.
Yep.
And they sit down, and the killer, they take their mask off, but we don't see their face. But Marie does, and we know at the very least Marie knows that person under that mask. Like, this person is not a surprise to her in any way. And that's when we get the full-on Greg reveal. And now Greg is going to take Marie out on the boat and then set the boat on fire. Greg is actually going to sail Marie out for a Viking funeral while he's on the boat, which is a terrible plan.
Yeah. Because I don't know how far out they're going. I thought they were on like a lake. So I feel like she should be able to swim back to shore.
However, he's going to escape from the boat.
Yeah.
She should be able to escape from it as well.
I took it as his plan was to die.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You thought he was literally going down with the ship. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
He's literally going to go down with the ship.
I thought he was going to light it and then jump off and go.
And the reasoning for him doing this is he just says it was the laughter, all of them laughing at me. They didn't laugh when we had the power, which is going back to his downfall from losing his job and not being able to find another one, and going back to what they were saying before, where lonely, isolated people do terrible, violent things.
Right.
So he's clearly lost touch with reality and is just too far gone at this point.
Yes. Which brings us to Shirley.
Yes.
And Shirley is dancing her little heart out. And then she runs into the killer. So she's running to escape, but the killer catches up to her and ties her to a table saw, a very James Bondian kind of thing there. And the killer has set her up to get killed on the table saw, but has made the critical error of not plugging the table saw in. We have chainsaws in the middle of the forest that are running on their own, but our table saw that we need to murder somebody, not even an extension cord. Nothing.
Not plugged in. No. And I really liked how they shot this scene.
Yeah.
A stupid decision, Shirley running down to the basement when escaping the killer. Might as well go up to the attic. You're equally as fucked. But she kind of backs herself up against the wall, and then we just see this shadow of the killer cast on her, and they use the shadow to show how close they're getting. So I really thought that was a nice scene. And when he took her and put her on that table saw, I was just like, oh, okay. This might be the best kill scene I've ever witnessed. Anticipating where this might go, because even though this lacked a lot of the gore and brutality of the murders, sometimes movies build to that.
Right.
So I was thinking, okay, maybe we're just, escalating, and this is going to be amazing. But like I said, doesn't have the power. So he plugs it in.
Which is his entire problem in life, is that he no longer has the power.
Exactly. He does not have the power.
Right.
And even just how he secures her to the table, he just doesn't tie her with rope. He uses barbed wire to tie her down. So so the pain that the barbed wire is causing is going to be nothing compared to when the table saw starts to go. but he's still making sure she is suffering as much as she can until her death.
Right. Her attempt to escape will be brutally painful if
Yes.
she manages to get her shit together.
Yep.
So this is how we leave this scene. We leave her kind of tied to the table saw, and we know what's going to happen, but we don't necessarily know what's going to happen.
Right.
And then what we get is finally Mac brings back Robert's car, which is the reason none of them could have left before, because they didn't have a car. And when he gets there, the front door's open. He goes in. He finds Ricky. He heads to the basement, which obviously is the first thing you do after you find a dead body is you check the basement. And to your point, if your options are the attic or the basement, the attic is the better choice, because there's at least a remote possibility you can kick, claw, scream your way out of the attic. You're not getting through a brick-filled basement, right? There's no, once you're in that basement, that's a casket. When you're in the attic, there's a possibility, and it's remote, granted, but there's a possibility you can bash your way through the ceiling and get out and escape. You're not going anywhere if you have to get through cinder block in order to leave.
And even then, you have the upper hand initially because you got to go head first.
Well, yeah.
So when that head comes through, you bash it.
Right. You have the high ground like Anakin, and so you can win in that perspective too. So yes, the choice between the attic and the basement, go to the attic.
The attic. But you just don't typically want to go into a room with no ways out.
The only correct answer,
you make them yourself.
The only correct answer is neither. The next level down is attic, and then that's it. There is no time where basement is the correct answer unless it goes like this: the basement where I keep my gun collection, and you go, oh, okay, well now the basement makes sense.
Yes, that you're well aware has a door to escape to the outside in.
Right. With my gun collection.
Yes.
So Mac finds Ricky's body, goes to the basement, he turns the lights on, which turns on the saw and kills Shirley, which I know that Saw has sort of mushed this sort of genre into the ground, but I do like the killer setting up someone else to actually commit the kill inadvertently. I think that's poetry.
And they also sort of foreshadowed this, but not with Shirley. Shirley wasn't part of this interaction. When Robert was downstairs, unless I'm pretty sure Marie was the one that flipped the switch. I don't know why it would be Shirley, but Robert was in the attic, and he was like, "Hey, can you turn the other light switch on? Because there's two light switches, one to light the light by the door, and the other to light the light downstairs."
Right.
So the killer wouldn't know that because they're not familiar with the house. They think the lights are on, but they're not. So when he plugs it in and it doesn't work, that's why.
Right. So that only leaves us to either kill Greg or kill Marie.
Yes.
So here we go. Greg goes out to the boat barn, some gas so that he can light that boat on fire. And Marie is there. And Marie kind of like pulls herself together when she sees Jay's body hanging and starts to run away. Greg finally catches up. But Mac finds the both of them. And now there's a fight between Greg and Mac. And Mac has a machete. And there's the whole fight. And Greg grabs the machete. Mac grabs a chainsaw. And Otis finally back on the scene in the forest with Marie's clearly attacked and bashed up body.
Yes.
And Greg is there trying to stab Mac with the machete. Otis grabs the running chainsaw. Now we understand why there's a running chainsaw in the middle of the forest. And kills Greg. So in the long run, what they started out showing you was Otis getting himself in position to be the hero of this particular point in the movie. That's again, really slick writing, really cleverly done. They give you this backwoodsy, greasy haired guy who they initially show you in a chainsaw run down in the forest. And as it turns out, he might have been the most normal person in the entirety of the movie. And that's
Yeah,
very well played.
It makes me question if Mac's story was made up.
Which certainly could have been a possibility.
Yeah.
But this is where this movie irritates me. And there's a couple other spots, obviously, where like there's these little flashes of brilliance in this movie that are just wrapped in a shit paper bag. And I don't understand how the same people can come up with these, like, hey, let's film this scene at the beginning that throws everyone off the scent of what's happening. And then at the end, when we wrap it up, we're giving you a full-on, like, Kaiser Sose twist at the end here. Like, oh my God, Otis was never the bad guy. And then we also get, cow sex. Like, these two completely not interchangeable situations are coming up in the same movie with the same two people writing it. Gets a little frustrating, but the flashes of genius are enough to make this like a standard bearer for an entire genre. So good on them in the long run.
And when after watching the end, I went back and watched the beginning again just to see if things, played out differently.
If it lined up.
And what we're getting is Otis approaching her after he kills Greg, and it makes it look like he's going to kill Marie, which I still don't know if he did. It's because if the story is true and he's been watching her, because we see him watching her, he would have a reason to brand her based on her actions. So I'm not 100% certain he let her live. I think he did, but I could listen to the argument that he killed her. But we also see is that there's the bodies of Greg and Mac behind him while he's approaching her. They're obscured mostly, but we can definitely tell two people are there.
Right.
So I didn't pick that up when I watched it the first time. But then going back to look at it again, you can see it. And then it's kind of like they cut this in a way that was purposely deceitful.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't give us a small snippet at the end. If we didn't watch Marie run through the woods, I wouldn't think they were being deceptive. But we did watch Marie run through the woods. They just chose us not to show the person she was running from.
Right.
And make it appear as if it was Otis. And that's how Otis just walked in and was there. Because she was never running from him. He was just where she ran to.
Right. He was so at most you come away with that Otis is maybe a perv, right?
Yes.
Maybe he was definitely spying on her and watching her have sex and all that stuff. And maybe he was a little religiously oriented and the whore thing and all that, but he wasn't a killer. He was humane in so far as his behaviors did not G up with his looks and his actions.
Yeah, and his lore.
And yeah, and they start you out in a tornado on purpose. And again, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant to start it out that way. And you're like, okay, I know that the group doesn't know who the killer is, but I certainly know who the psycho in this movie is.
Yes.
And I did not know who the psycho in this movie was until Marie found out who the psycho in the movie was. So with all that being said, if you're Greg, first of all, if you're Greg, why are you doing these killings anyway? Just because you don't like that people were making fun of you?
Right. He doesn't like that. He basically, his life has been, I would think that in his viewpoint, his life has been stolen from him.
Okay.
And the people that used to suck up to him no longer do. So I think Greg was always a terrible person, but it was masked by his position.
By his success.
Yes.
Okay.
Because he's mad now that he can't treat people like shit. This is how I'm interpreting this.
Right.
And then he's not happy that he's divorced. because even when he walks into Marie's new place, the first thing he says before he even greets his kid, who's paying the rent. So you know where his head is. He's already pissed off that she might be with another man, and then another man comes in and gives his kid a baseball mitt.
Right. Which is
Like,
the most demeaning of things.
yes,
You
no,
gonna
it was.
are you gonna sports with my son?
Yeah, only I may do man things with my child. So this guy's just ready to jump off a cliff,
Right.
and he's going to take people with him.
Okay. So if you're Greg and you've decided that you're going to kill everyone who's ever mocked you, how do you handle it differently?
I don't think I do. He was very successful. The only thing that his only mistake was not taking in the locals into his plan. But he wouldn't have necessarily known there were locals. He just knows where Marie's going to be and this group of people is going to be. He's there to kill them. So I guess the only thing that he could have done better is wait for the most opportune time where he knows everyone is secluded.
Yeah,
And he can't do it at the apartment because his kid's there. So, he just needs to plan a little bit better. But his execution was great. It worked.
I think his overall game plan is good. Let them all willingly isolate themselves from the world, and
Yes.
then finish them off. I think I don't think there's a lot he can do differently because I don't think he's a killer at heart. Like he's not a psychopath. He's a psychopath, but
Yeah.
he's not like a practicing psychopath. This is just his break, his break with reality. So he's ill prepared to kill, and it shows. And I think he should be ill prepared to kill.
Yeah.
So if there was something that he should do differently, I don't know how you phrase it, but study up on killing people. Like, get better at killing people before you go kill people. But that's one of those things, you kind of got to practice as you go. And
Yeah.
so so I don't know that I can do much differently if I'm Greg, if I'm just going to lean into my breaking point. So if you are one of Greg's old friends that's not his friend anymore, how do you survive the onslaught of Greg?
In a lot of cases, they don't know they're being hunted. So you don't know how to survive any differently. The only person that knew that died was Shirley. Well, no, Robert knew people were being killed, but Robert did the appropriate thing. Robert went and got a gun.
Right.
And it was just the killer was in the room or outside of the killer was right there when Robert got the gun, so he never had the chance to use it. Shirley's the only person where you can question their actions by running in the basement. So she's the only one who you could possibly say their actions directly put gas on the fire of their demise.
Yeah, I think you're spot on all of that. So, for a movie that was made in 1976 that had no reference point, did they make the movie they set out to make?
Yeah, I 100% think they did. They made what's considered a slasher movie in 1976, and watching it today, you can tell that this is a slasher movie made in 1976.
Would you watch it again?
I would watch this again. I don't know if I'd watch it anytime soon, but if somebody wanted to watch it, I'd have no problems watching it again. Plus, we talked about this with The Hermit. When there's a twist, I like to go back and watch things again just to view it differently now that I know, to see if there was anything I missed. So I would enjoy it just doing that, just to watch it again, knowing what I know now. It would make the movie more enjoyable I think watching it a second time.
Yeah, I think that's why I would watch it again, because there were so many overt things like the pins and the hook and things like that, that going back, I'm going to assume for now that there was probably a bunch of more subtle things that were baked
Yes.
into this, that were like pointing you at what was happening, and you just weren't prepared for it because you were busy with Otis being the killer.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. So, given the opportunity, how do you fix this movie?
There are three issues I have with this. The first is the pacing, and I think this is easily fixable. We don't get our first death in this movie until 52 minutes into our hour and a half movie. So everything is piled on at the end. And I think this can be fixed by adding two more body bags. Because we do have a scene where one of the guys from the barn is working alongside of Mac, and he basically tells Mac, "We're going to fix these guys good for what they did to us." And Mac says, "You're not doing anything without my approval." And when the guy is kind of like, "Well, I'm going to do it anyway," he hits him in the gut with the handle of a shovel,
Yeah.
and knocks him down. So now that we know that there's two people that want revenge on this group, and we know Mac told them not to take any action, we could have them outside the property talking about what they plan to do when they go in to hurt people. And this would also cast suspicion on Mac. So if there are first two bags, then we can have this maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes earlier into the film. Then I think we're getting some of the death, more throughout the film instead of all piled in really quickly at the end. So it feels more like a horror movie instead of just testing how uncomfortable they can make us for the first 52 minutes. The other problem that I've talked about is the boat. I don't think the boat needs to be part of the story. We get that really weird conversation with Otis at the grave, where he's upset that Jay is down there to try to fix it, and the whole reason they seem to be down there is to check on this boat. Yet they don't do any checking on the boat. We never actually see Otis or Jay do any work on the boat. We just hear about it. So, and again, I don't understand why Otis thinks the boat isn't Robert's and he thinks it's his. It's not even a boat. It's just, like you said, the concept of one. So to fix this, make the boat a cabin on the lake. Make Otis the local that Robert has hired to fix up the cabin. It could be something as simple as the cabin used to be part of Otis's family, but they lost the property and Robert was the one to purchase it, and Robert doesn't know that Otis used to live there, or it was Otis's uncle, whatever it is. Otis has some sort of tie to the property that in Otis's head would still make it his. And now we have a reason for Otis to be part of the story without a weird boat subplot. And finally, the issue I have was with Shirley's death. It was so promising to me, but instead we get the light switch on. We don't even hear the saw. We get some weird sci-fi spaceship noises that plays over it. We don't hear her scream. There's no payoff. So, and I get this movie wasn't big on special effects, but I'm taking as much money as I have to try to make this scene stand out. Even if we just have blood flying out from underneath of her while she's violently shaking on the table, we don't necessarily need to see the saw burst through her chest. But I think the reaction to it being turned on has to just be extremely violent, and it wasn't. So I was really let down by where this scene was going and what we got in the end with it.
And that's fair. I am not that far off from you in how I address this one. Um, I think the pacing is important in this movie because we start out insinuating that Otis is the killer, and Otis is there the whole time. By the end of the movie, what we've learned is that this is just a giant Greg revenge plot, or revenge,
Right.
but whatever word you want to use for it. So, from Greg's perspective, this has to be a murder speed run because in a world where people are bright, the minute the first person is dead, you are really compromising your plan. The minute the first, the minute what Jay is hanging from the ceiling, you've really put a crimp into your entire plan because your plan is extremely contingent on no one really knowing what's happening. And the minute you start making people suspicious, you're screwing with that framework. So, I'm still going to give you the opening where we kind of put it on Otis without
Right.
really putting it on Otis. Boat's gone. The boat is entirely gone from this plot. The boat is the dumbest fucking thing on this plot. But kind of along your lines, we're going on a fun group trip to a cabin in the woods, wherever, a lake house, whatever it is.
Yes.
That Otis is the proprietor of. That Otis owns the campground, whatever it is. Robert is paying for this trip for everybody out of the bonus that he got in the job that he now holds that used to be Greg's job. And we're not going to be loud about that, but that's going to be really painted out there that like Robert has basically taken Greg's life.
Yes.
Not necessarily on purpose, but that's just the way it worked out.
Yeah.
Greg failed at this big sales deal. Robert stepped in and saved the company. And now Robert is taking all of Greg's friends and Greg's ex-wife on a vacation on the dollars that Greg thinks should have been his in the first place. And Greg's kid is coming on this trip. Greg is going to get there in the second half, do his murder speed run. And the only reason we really put it together, and I haven't quite worked all the details out, is the kid is the only one who lives, and he winds up with for the sake of speed here, he winds up with a baseball bat that he had been talking about wanting at the beginning of the movie when we had that Robert and Greg baseball glove scene.
Yeah.
And that's when we go, oh, that was Greg that did all this. And then we can get to the Otis saving the day at the very end and tying it back together. But my biggest thing is erasing the boat and giving Greg an even heavier, because his thing was just like, oh, a bunch of people made fun of me when I didn't do so well in life. Like, okay, I get it. That can be a thing. But like, I want to make this weight like bricks on his chest. Like I said, like Robert has basically stepped into his life and is now inadvertently, like, Robert's just a good dude, but Robert's like flaunting it in front of Greg. Like, oh no, Greg, you don't have to come get the kid this weekend because I'm taking everybody on a lake house vacation. And it's like, fucking Robert. And that's what sets him off. And that's what sends him on his spree.
I like that better because the way the movie has it is Greg has just lost things.
Right.
But in your version, everything's been taken from Greg.
Right. In Greg's perspective, it's not only been taken from him, but the fact that it's been taken is being rubbed in his face.
Yes.
Even though we don't get that from, like we don't get, I don't want Robert to be like an asshole, like 80s jock guy. I don't want Robert to be like, hey, Greg, look what we're doing, huh? No, Greg is just like, or Robert, I'm sorry, is just like, I got a big bonus, guys. Let's have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Let's go to the lake and I'll buy everybody some beers and we'll have a nice weekend. And Greg is just stewing in the corner, like in the unemployment line, cashing his $3 check. Like everything is going fucking wrong. I'm opening tuna with a fork and just trying to get by until something clicks. And this is it for him. He can't take it after this.
I like that.
That has been our bloody take on Savage Weekend. It was a pretty good movie. Especially for the kinds of things that we get involved in here. If you have a bloody take on this movie, or if you want us to give you our bloody take on another movie you haven't heard yet, you can find us at all the socials.
You want to talk about cows?
we are experts far beyond our years when it comes to cow information. A very specific, narrow windows, though. Please don't ask us a lot about
You see,
cows.
I feel like this is a bad time to show you I have a cow tattoo.
There are no surprises there. See how that cow is grinning? We know why.
Yeah.
So even with that being said, you can find us at all the socials. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, Blue Sky, and Twitter. It's One Bloody Take, all one word. We're at TikTok, _bloody_take. Get in touch with us, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Say hello, please. You find the podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Substack, anywhere else you get your podcast by searching out One Bloody Take. Put out a new episode every Wednesday. Join us next week when we discuss 1991's Shock 'em Dead. I'm Paul.
And I'm Russ.
And thanks for listening to our Bloody Take.